Every name you drop got roots in the grind. History speaks loud, just listen to the line. We struggle to shine, we honor the climb. We're losses hit deep, but sharp in the mind. Real don't flex, they just move with weight. Welcome to the legacy, room A108, go to the legacy. Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Room A108. I'm your host, David. Joining me, as always, my co-host, CJ. And we're back for another episode. Today, we'll be touching on a little Bears recap from last week. Big game. Finally, some good news to talk about, but we'll get there. We'll have our Week 4 preview next week versus the Raiders. Also, we want to give a little update for college football. We haven't touched on that in a little while. And also, we want to touch on the little baseball. So we got the MLB Playoffs coming up soon. And we have a hometown team in the running for a change. So definitely got a lot to talk about today in this episode. But started off, got the good news, man. How you feel?
Oh, man, it's always good to come in after a Bears win, even though we both picked them to lose. But hey, I like being wrong in situations like this, right? Started off, I can't even say started off. They were rolling for the entirety of the game for the most part. Went into halftime looking a little sketchy, like they might have been, keeping the door open for them, but came out in the third quarter and to start the second half, and they put their foot on their neck. They did what they were supposed to do, and yeah, man, Bears come out with a much needed win.
It's funny because last episode you had kind of said, you were like, man, you never know, we might have something good to talk about. So it's not like it wasn't justified, our decision, as far as us taking a loss. We both said we didn't think it was going to get messy like it was against Detroit in week 2. But I was just glad to see him in the win column. I'm not ready to just fully jump on the other end of the spectrum and just say, hey, we're ready to go to the Super Bowl. I think it was a much needed win. Games like that are good for confidence. At the end of the day, man, we still got a lot of personnel issues. I think Ben Johnson is still kind of trying to figure out his packages and what works, what doesn't work. So it's gonna take some growing pains. But all in all, man, I mean, always is good to beat the Cowboys. That's the first thing.
And it's a game that gets them going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Pointed in the right direction, because if we're sitting here today talking about an 0-3 team going on the road again and then going into the bye and having to come out of the bye, reliving that game in Washington, like we could be sitting here talking about a season going a totally different way. So for them to get that win, 1-2, an opportunity to go to Vegas, try to get a win, and go into the bye 2-2 is a situation that might be able to salvage a season. So we'll see what it looks like in Vegas. I do expect them to win that game. Now, will they do it is another.
Tom Brady was getting his scouting report on being an analyst that game.
That's another conversation. But I do expect them to go out to Vegas, handle their business, win that game, and go into the bye 2-2, and reevaluate some things. And honestly, for as much as I hate early buys, 9 times out of 10, this might actually be a situation where, with a rookie head coach, it might be a blessing for him to get the early buy and had that extra week to self-scout and, see what he did wrong in those first 4 weeks, see some things that he might want to change, build on. So, yeah, I think if they go to Vegas and win that game, they might be in a prime spot to, like I said, self-scout and come out of the bye. And hopefully you go to Washington and it's a better outcome than the last time we were talking about a Bears-Commanders game.
That was the downfall of the season last year. So I noticed one fan base was real quiet this week, and that was the Caleb haters. So definitely didn't have much to say this week. I
gotta put that Bajent stuff on the shelf for another week, right?
Shelf that for sure. I want to go on a little bit. I'm not gonna call it a rant, but I just something I got to get off my chest. I saw a post, and it just kind of it. I've always had this feeling, but it actually like it's something I was like, you know what? That's exactly how I feel, and it's just made me elaborate on it a little bit more. So it's basically talking about the audacity of Chicago fans, right? That's what it's about. So, they of course they reference the Packers and their history of the quarterbacks, and you talk about the Patriots with Brady. Before that, you had Bledsoe, all these teams. Now, if they were in a situation like the Bears right now and they have Caleb, they have every right to have a short leash. The Bears, on the other hand, when's the last time we've had a marquee quarterback? We've never had a marquee quarterback. Never. Jay Cutler and Sid Luckman are the closest we ever come to that. Kramer had a good year, a really, really good year. I'll give him that. But for Bears fans to be so dismissive of quarterbacks, like we are just this elite home of quarterbacks, is just the most hypocritical thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It just, it blows my mind. Everyone's like, Caleb, he had a bad game. He overthrew somebody, take him out, put in Bajent. Like the audacity that we've had this Hall of Fame shrine of quarterbacks. No, that's the one reason why I also was a fan of Cutler. Everyone was like, oh, well, Cutler wasn't that great. He was cool. In my lifetime, that's the best Bears quarterback I got to see. Now, that's not saying much, but at the end of the day, Cutler, he was a gunslinger. He was a much less efficient Brett Favre. That's exactly who he was. He threw the ball hard. His attitude, of course, was crappy, but, look who we had. He doesn't have much to go against. He's got all the records, so I appreciated Cutler when we had him. I think if we had Cutler in 2006, I think we win that Super Bowl, and I think it's not even close. I think that's a blowout, especially with Hester, returning the opening kickoff. I think we seal that because people forget that year, Manning did not have a good playoff run that year at all. So defense won them. That was the height of Bob Sanders and all that. So, but I had to get that off my chest, man. I'm like, so Bears fans, here, I'm going to talk right into the camera for this. Bears fans, when it comes to Caleb Williams, okay, he may not be the messiah of quarterbacks that you all think he is. He may not be, Jaden Daniels, of course, and he went second, so I get that. But being a Chicago fan, we don't have much to compare him to. So talent-wise, he's one of the better quarterbacks we've had, if not the best quarterback we've had. Him or Justin maybe talent-wise right there as far as skill set. So be patient. He's leading the NFL in touchdowns right now. So,
we as Bears fans only know what good quarterbacking looks like from afar.
Yeah.
And for anybody who wants to talk about whether it's Mahomes, whether it's Allen, whether it's Lamar, go talk to the people in those fan bases or go pull up the clips of those fan bases when those players were drafted. You can even throw Jalen Hurts in that conversation. Yep. There's clips all over the internet of when Kansas City drafted Patrick Mahomes. People at draft parties talking about what the hell are they doing. Same with Josh Allen. And Josh Allen got crucified his first year and a half to 2 years. They were wondering whether or not he was going to turn into somebody who could actually throw the ball down the field. And you look at what he's blossomed into. Lamar fell all the way into, the second round, first pick of the second round. Jalen Hurts drafted to back up Carson Wentz. And if it wasn't for him getting hurt, how does that go?
Yep.
So, yeah, man, we only know what it looks like from afar. So to piggyback on what you're saying, for any Bears fans to, sit on some high horse and act like they have the right or, the know-it-all to critique quarterback play and how he should be developed and this and that, like, stop it, man. Let the season play out. Let's get this current quarterback with someone who knows what they're doing let's see how it plays out. Now, if we get to the end of the season and the wheels fall off and he doesn't look anything close to what he looked like last week against the Cowboys, then that's another conversation. But, yeah, I'm right with you with that, man. Bears fans got some gall sometimes, man, and to sit here, as a fan of that team and a product of the city, it's, sometimes I really feel like we got one of the worst fan bases at times, man, when it comes to just the quick blush reactions, man, and nobody wants to sit and honestly look at tape unbiasedly and come up with their own, kind of opinions. It's just a lot of parroting what they're hearing at the national level. And a lot of them national reporters don't come to Lake Forest. They don't go to the practices. They don't see anything. They don't all they repeating is the negative stuff that gets blown out of proportion online, and then they, get up on Get Up and all of these other shows, NFL Live, and they repeat it, and then it goes viral. So, yeah, man, get a man some time. Not only, Caleb, but Ben and the rest of the offensive staff. And we'll see how it goes, Maybe we might be on to something, man. If it looks like last week, I'm good with it.
Yep. And just for me, I should say, I mean, everyone has their own opinion, but a lot of my optimism comes just from the raw talent that I see from Caleb. Like, for him to get that ball up almost 70 yards in the air, flat-footed, that's just raw talent. I mean, there's not many people in the world that can make that throw, and he has this. So that's the thing. It's like there's no gray area for Chicago fans. It's either this or that. It's like, oh, well, he was overthrowing, like, receivers. Like, yeah, he's got things to. Just because people support Caleb, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have his flaws. He's a second-year quarterback, and he's got growing pains. I mean, the one reason why I like when I have like a lot of people don't like them as commentators, but when I hear Tom Brady or Romo or whatever, you get to hear from a quarterback's perspective a lot of time when they talk. So Brady kind of broke it down. He was like, Caleb ran no huddle. He's not used to a huddle. He's not used to being under center. There's a lot of things, so he really doesn't have a strong play action background. There's so many things that he has to change. And going from college to the NFL, first of all, by itself is a task in its own. And him having to just change up his whole, what made him in the NFL it's going to take time. So, no, I agree with you, man. And I just need to get that off my chest. I had seen that, man. So I want to get back on track talking about what stood out to you the most. If you could take away 3 positives from the game, what do you think are the 3 biggest positives you took away from the Bears this week?
Well, obviously one would be Caleb looking like the quarterback that they drafted him to be. I do not believe he took a sack in that game.
No sacks. Nope.
So that would be number 1. Number 2 is that we saw at least some semblance of a pass rush, from the defense, and that's what happens when your offense is moving the ball. You get the other team on their heels. You get them in a situation where they feel like they have to put up points, so they're not just we can ground and pound them all the way down and we can win a 17-7 game. No, you have when you come out and your offense is clicking like that. Now the other team feels like they have to match, so you're gonna put them in more passing situations. So it was good to see somewhat of a pass rush. And number 3 was Tyreek Stevenson revenge.
Just gonna say that, man.
Tour starts.
I was just
Tyreek
gonna say
Stevenson.
that.
So let's do it.
Have his Peanut Tillman moment, man. So
man. And not even just that. He started the game off with that, but he played excellent in coverage.
Lockdown. He was locked down all game.
Yeah, and you're not always going to get that from Reek. That wasn't what he was drafted to be. Mm-hmm. He was drafted to be, a Robin to a Batman. He wasn't that in college. He wasn't a lockdown number 1 corner. You need Jalen Johnson or a Jalen Johnson-esque player on the other side of him for him to be what you saw yesterday. But, we'll see. I'm sure I'm sure I might eat my words in the coming weeks because he's bound. It's just how life as a cornerback is. You're going to give up some plays, and in the next few weeks, he might give up a touchdown or two, and some people will be in my inbox again and in my text messages, like my brother, like Joe. Joe hates Tyreek, so. But it is what it is.
It's on. So I don't dislike him. I think I agree with you. We drafted him for a purpose, and what he's doing now is not his purpose. I appreciate him stepping up when we needed him. With Jalen out, he definitely stepped up. But it definitely rubbed me the wrong way last year, Washington game. That was hard to see. But I mean, he's here. My thing is, if you're here, gotta just step up. So I have a feeling that he's gonna have a grudge this year against Washington. He's got a lot to prove. I think all eyes are gonna be on him. So I can see him stepping up. But
hey, go out there, have a good game against Vegas. Go relax on a bye, and then come out ready to redeem yourself. That's all I could ask for from him. But I gave you my three. What were maybe three key points from you that you were happy to see this past week?
So, like you, I mean, definitely Caleb. That was the first one, and definitely defense too. I agree with you 100%. So we're aligned with that. You pretty much spoke on everything I need to say about that as well. But my third is everybody ate. And that was the purpose of getting all these weapons in the offseason. And what we complained about last week is not getting everybody included. Rome got a touchdown. Komet got a touchdown. DJ Moore got a touchdown. Luther Burden got a touchdown. Loveland got a long pass, like with a 30-plus yard pass. So
Luther would have been my honorable mention.
Yeah, man.
If I had a fourth, I would have put him on there just because, I banged the drum for him, while he was sitting there undrafted, and then the Bears went and drafted him, and then, I heaped all that praise on the Bears for going to get him. So he would have been my honorable mention for sure. I'm very optimistic about what's to come for him in these coming weeks, as the season goes on. But go ahead, my bad, bro.
No, you're good. I agree, and I've even seen Ben touched on he really wants to get him involved in more packages on the offense. He just needs to find his niche, his role. I think he's getting there. But this is what teams need to worry about going forward about the Bears. The fact that, literally everybody got some. You know what I mean? Like, everybody had their moment. And it's like, okay, we can't really key on one person on offense. We're going to have to kind of figure it out. I do think one Bears Achilles heel is pressure. As long as teams are able and effectively bring pressure, that's always going to be an issue for us. But if we have more weapons, you're going to be a little more hesitant to do that because, that'll end up biting you in the ass in the long run. So those are my three. All in all, you got two happy Bears fans here. The city's happy. I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but I know someone had to cough up some free glizzies.
Oh, that was the Wiener Circle.
Hot dogs. Yeah,
the Wiener Circle. Yeah.
So,
was
it Caleb 4 touchdowns, right?
Yeah. You put it out there, you
gotta own it.
Yeah, you gotta own it. You gotta live up to it, man. But we looking forward to week 4.
Yep.
Bears, like we said, Bears traveling to Vegas. Anything you looking to see continue? Anything you looking to see change? How do you see week 4 going for the Bears out in Sin City?
Yeah, I more the same. I don't. For some reason, I'm not leaning on a blowout. I think the game will be closer than what most people expect. Just because any sport, it's notorious going out in the West Coast. It's always a struggle, especially early in the season. Early in the season, West Coast trips usually are always tough. I don't think we'll lose, but I think it's going to be a little tougher matchup than what people think. But I think as long as if Ben is hitting his rhythm with his play calling, I think we'll be okay. I think our success this year will lean heavily on our defense now. I think if Dennis Allen can get the defense rolling, like we did, I know we benefited a lot from CeeDee Lamb getting hurt too. That helped. It hurt to see him go out like that, but I don't think it would have made that much more of a difference, but it definitely would have made, somewhat of a difference. But yeah, that's that's just what I see happening next week. What about yourself, man?
Bears 48-10.
Compliments to the super fans, huh?
Nah, but I expect them to go out there and win the game. One of the things that stood out to me listening to Ben Johnson speak, it wasn't in a post game interview. It was I think it was like the day after, but he said that he's starting to get comfortable in the play calling, knowing that he doesn't necessarily have to get his first read open on every single play. And I think a lot of that was a testament to, I think the question was in regards to Caleb and his mobility and being able to extend plays, escape the pocket, and, something that he obviously wasn't used to, in Detroit with Goff, and, no shade to Goff, but he's just not the athlete that Caleb is.
Yeah.
So being able to, kind of call plays, in a way where he can trust Caleb to get from 1 to 2 to 3 in the progression. And then if that ain't there, okay, go get me 7-8 yards and then live to fight the next play. So that was interesting to hear him say, in the days after the game. But yeah, for sure, I definitely expect them to go out there and handle their business and win that game. If you can limit that Cowboys offense to, what you limited them to this past Sunday, I don't see why the Raiders should be striking any fear in anybody's heart at this point. Go out there, handle business, march the ball down the field and handle your business on defense like they did this past Sunday. So, yeah, I expect them to go into the bye 2-2, and we come out and we see what's to it with Washington.
And we got a tough little stretch there too, because it's Washington, and after Washington we have it's not the Saints, is it?
Nah, it might. I know the back-to-back with the Ravens and the Bengals is after that, but
yeah.
I mean at this point that Bengals game doesn't.
It's looking different than
that doesn't even look the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Bears against Washington out of the bye, and then home against the Saints.
Yep.
And then right after that they leave for the back-to-back with Baltimore and Cincy. So yeah, I mean you go out there and right your wrongs in Washington, and you come back home 3-2 to play the Saints. I mean, anything's possible at that point, But one step at a time. I don't want to start talking about week 7. It's week 4. Go out there to Vegas, play another solid game, come back to Chicago with a dub, and enjoy the bye. It's a lot easier to enjoy your time off on the bye, coming off of a couple of wins, as it would, if you go out there and lay an egg, and find yourself limping into the bye, and having to stare that Commanders game in the face coming out of it. So yeah, man, I expect them to go out there and handle business.
Yeah, for sure. So we're on the same page with that one. I believe we both had it as a win anyways, before the season started. So also we got a really big week this week in college football. We really haven't touched on college since the first week. Was it the first or second week maybe of the season?
It was the first week, and then it was just a couple of mediocre weeks after that. I would say.
I mean, there were good games sprinkled in there, but this week is. I even mentioned it before. I'm like, yeah, we got to touch on it this week because, you got Oregon, Penn State, Bama, Georgia. I think that's going to be a good tell-all of, the integrity and prestige of Bama. Are they still that top-tier program that just had a bad loss? As we see, Florida State is actually legit this year. So that'll be a game to look out for. LSU, Ole Miss, and then USC and U of I looking to bounce back from that embarrassing loss last week.
Man, that game just don't look the same as it looked 4 days ago.
So I was talking to my dad because, I was telling him, he was like, man, I really wasn't expecting that. And a lot of people had said, I'm really not expecting that. I'm like, well, I think a lot of people forget Indiana was in the playoff last year. The only loss was to Penn State in the season, and then they lost first round of the playoff. But, I mean, they're not a slouch team. That coach got that big extension for a reason. So yeah, Indiana, they're legit. I'm surprised so many people slept on them. I mean, again, I wasn't expecting the outcome to be what it was, but um,
I think it's just more so of when you look at the way Indiana's season ended last year. Fast forward to preseason hype, rankings, polls, et cetera, and then the way Illinois started the season. Then they go into that game ranked like 8 or 9.
yeah, they were up there.
Indiana's all the way, like back teens, early 20s, somewhere around that realm. So you kind of look at it, from afar. As a casual fan, I would say, and it was just shocking to see, it play out the way it played out. I don't think anybody ever expects a top 10 team to lose, 56-10 or whatever it was,
Yeah.
whatever it ended up being. So I think it was more so the optics of it.
Yeah.
When you look at everything as a whole, other than just, I don't think anybody was calling Indiana a slouch by any means, but when you look at all of it in totality, it was a little shocking.
Yeah, for sure. But I know you've been all smiles lately, man. You got a reason, right?
Of course.
So what number 2 in the country?
Number 2 in the country, coming off of a convincing win against the Gators. Get to rest up, got to bye this week, and then
Big game.
travel to Tallahassee the week after. So
it's probably the biggest game of the season now, right?
Biggest game of the season, probably the biggest game. I would say in the last 2 or 3 seasons when you think about the history of Miami and Florida State and kind of the buzz and the hype around Florida football again, and those Power 5 schools being able to retain talent and being able to ward off some of those Georgias and USCs and Oregons and Bamas coming into Florida and stealing those kids away. So there's a lot of hype down there, man. There's a lot of hype in Florida for those schools, and for as much as fans of Florida and people around that program may say that was a letdown, I still think the future is and should be bright, for Florida, the Gators, and for all the other teams, for Miami, for FSU, for USF, looking like a team that, why not USF? The way that they've been playing these other Power 5 schools and taking them right down to the wire, that should be another destination school for a lot of kids down there. So yeah, man, we gonna rest up this week. We gonna sit back. We gonna watch the rest of the landscape, and then we gonna travel to Tallahassee, and we gonna lay a good one on Florida State. And we gonna march all the way to the national championship. We're gonna bring it back to the U. And Carson Beck gonna win the Heisman.
I was gonna touch on that. I mean, with Mateer out now, he's gonna be out for a month, so he's pretty much dropped out of the Heisman watch. And you were telling me Mendoza from Indiana, he's up there now because
of the big game against Illinois, but
but Beck is right behind him.
Yeah.
So and looking at it in the long run, realistically, of all the people so far, in the Heisman watch, he's got the most realistic path because they usually align with record, and then accolades along with it.
Accolades, prestige.
Yep.
So
popularity.
Yeah, and one thing that Carson Beck has going for him is if Miami gets past this game next week against FSU, the schedule lines up perfectly for them to run the table, be a playoff team with a bye. And one thing that people who follow Miami can attest to is when you look back at Cam Ward's run last year, their OC, Shannon Dawson, is going to do everything in his power to prop up Carson Beck the same way he did last year with Cam Ward. He's going to, in situations where you think they should be running the ball, he's going to put the ball in his quarterback hands, and he's going to let him put up the numbers. He's going to let him do everything to boost his Heisman status. So yeah, Carson Beck for Heisman. Miami winning the ship. Y'all could argue about 2026 next year.
Talk about
man.
next year. It's going to be a lot of movement too, because I mean, like I said, all these matchups. There's a lot of someone's got to take an L in the top 10. I mean, Oregon, Penn State, perfect example. I think they're number 3 and number 5, or number 3 and number 6.
Yeah, that's probably the most exciting game of the week by far.
Yeah.
You talked about Bama, Georgia.
Yep.
I don't know. For me, that's a double-digit win for Georgia in my mind. There's nothing, remotely. I don't even want to say positive, but there's no momentum for Bama right now.
This is a proving game for them.
Yeah, they're sticking in the mud right now, and if they want to come out and prove something, yeah, go out there and beat Georgia and change the narrative not only for your team but for your coach.
Yeah,
but I don't know. That's a double-digit win for Georgia in my book, and then we can sit here and we can talk about Oregon, Penn State, and LSU and Ole Miss, but yeah, I probably won't even tune that game in, depending on the time slot. I haven't mapped out my weekend yet, but depending on what time slot that game is in,
yeah,
I'm definitely more so looking to that Oregon Penn State game.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's probably besides.
And then I got my weekend as a father with football for my son. So depending on where that game is played, I might not even tune in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. And besides opening week with Ohio State, Texas, I mean, it's probably the biggest game of the season so far. So big tell-all for sure. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was another post that popped up on my Facebook feed. The teams, I think the top 7 teams in the transfer portal this year are all undefeated right now. Every last one of them are undefeated. Florida State, I think, finished number 2 in the country. I think Miami is in there actually too. I think they finished in the top 5. So everyone's making a big. So I guess they do come hand in hand, but a lot of people are making a big deal about NIL. And I've been saying I think the transfer portal is more impactful than the NIL. I mean, NIL is different, and I know that's what's kind of bringing the intrigue from people to transfer or whatever. But man, that transfer portal is. I mean, you could turn your team around in one season. Look at Florida State; they had 2 wins last year, 3 wins, and they're.
And Norvell was on the hot seat, coming into this season, and they went out there and based off the way that they're playing. You might take a coach that goes into the season on the hot seat. He might be looking at extension at this point.
Yep.
Especially since, I know all the hype was Norvell on the hot seat, Prime out there in Colorado, his son and Travis are gone. If he, does, halfway decent out there with Colorado, a lot of people are expecting him to take that FSU job. But I think that you can quiet that noise a whole lot right now. But yeah, I don't think NIL and the transfer portal are mutually exclusive by any means. But I think once the guardrails get put on NIL, it'll naturally just kind of, because then you're not going to see so many kids, just hopping in the portal, just looking for the bag, because it's not going to be there in the way that it has been in the last few years. But, like I've always said, I stand 10 toes on my opinion when it comes to that. While it's the Wild Wild West, go get it.
Go get your money.
Them coaches in them universities was getting it for decades. So why not? Why not go get it? Go get it while you can.
Get it all. Get all the monies, because it's going to get capped soon enough. But the segue, man, something that we tend not to talk about as much, give much love, is your passion, man, is baseball. So
this segment is for Emmanuel McClary.
Took the words out of my mouth.
My brother, shouting you out. This one's for you, man. You asked for it. Here it goes.
I'm gonna let CJ do most of the talking because I don't got much. No,
it's funny. It's ironic that I'm sitting here 4 years ago to the day, September 23rd, and I didn't even realize this when I put this shirt on because I got dressed in the dark this morning going to work. So, but September 23rd, 2021 was the last time the White Sox won the division, and I'm sitting here with it on. I didn't even realize that until I was sitting having lunch at work, and I was scrolling through my Facebook memories, and it popped up, and I was like, "Oh, that's crazy that's the shirt that I picked this morning without a clue."
perfect shirt to wear for this segment, man.
Oh, for sure. I know you would love that. You loving that.
So, I mean, we still got, I mean, it's a fresh season. It's, you know, most of the seasons start around this time when you got football and you got basketball and hockey. But baseball's almost over. And if you're considering last season, the Cubs are the only team that have had any success. They clinched the wild card berth. So, you know, we have a Chicago team in the playoffs. And it seems like, I mean, I know the Bulls make it, they make it to the play-in round every year, but I don't even consider that playoffs. That play-in game is a participation award for a subpar season. And they lose to Miami all the time anyway, so I'm not even going to go down that road. We have a whole season to talk about the disappointment in the Bulls. But, yeah, man, I mean, you know, so this is transparency on my end. I love White Sox baseball when the White Sox are good, even when they're not. I'm familiar with my home team. I'm not the best casual baseball fan. I love playoff baseball. Love playoff baseball. There's, you know, playoff hockey and playoff baseball are two are like the most intense and strategic. I mean, I love it. Love it. But as far as the season goes, man, you know, we have the NFL and college. I can just watch two teams that I have no dog in a race, and I'm good. Baseball, I never really been that. I mean, here and there I'll catch something for the most part, but I keep my tabs so I know who's doing decent. And unfortunately, team up north.
Yes, I mean, for me, it's easy. It's easier for me, somebody who, you know, played the game his whole life, followed it, coached it, mentored it, all the above. It's a little bit easier for me to be a casual fan and to just flip on a game. And especially, you know, with all of the changes, that's one thing I will give, you know, MLB credit for is, you know, some of the rule changes and ways to speed up the game, get more action. So it's easy now than more than ever. It's easier to kind of be a casual fan. You know, now if we were talking about 5-10 years ago, even your most diehard baseball fan, you know, was struggling just, you know, late at night at 9:00, turning on a Mariners Angels game, West Coast, and trying to follow that and watch it. It was brutal, man. It's like pulling teeth. But now more than ever, it's a little bit easier to be a casual fan and just tune in and try to watch good baseball. But, you know, MLB always finds a way to get in their own way. They're going to do it in a couple of years because there's going to be a lockout. They're not going to come to an agreement on, you know, a salary cap and all of that. So once again, you know, flashback to 1994, there's going to be another lockout, and, you know, we'll see when they come out of it, you know, how many fans they lose in the process. But just kind of, we'll reshift back to the Cubs. But yeah, shout out to them. Congratulations to them. You know, I've never been a Cubs hater. And I think it's easy because the Sox and the Cubs don't play in the same division. You know, when you talk about teams that I hate as a Sox fan, I hate the Twins. You know, I hate the Guardians. You know, it's a whole lot easier for me to hate those teams because they play them so much. They're in the same division. Sox and the Cubs, one AL, one NL. The only time they'll ever meet outside of, you know, the Crosstown Classic is if they played in the World Series. And that ain't coming no time soon. So it's easy for, you know, for that rivalry to be out of sight, out of mind. And, you know, it's, you know, in 2016 when the Cubs went to the World Series, you know, I rooted for them. I wanted to see them do well. No hate in my blood for them. But now this is where I might piss some of them off, some of their fans off. I don't see them going far this year. I don't think they did enough at the deadline to supplement what was already on the roster. I don't think they went into this year thinking that this would be a year for them to win the World Series. I kind of thought going into this year that they were hoping that this year could have been their 2015 year. This could have been the year where they took a big jump, maybe surprised some people, won a series, you know, in the playoffs. But then after this year, that would be the year that they kind of went all in, you know, and tried to make 2026 their 2016 year, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's just not enough there. The offense, the bats go silent way too much for a team that you expect to go far and to do damage. And when you're talking about, in all likelihood, having to start, your first round wild card series against San Diego, and I mean, and there's still a chance that San Diego overtakes the Dodgers, and now you're talking about having to face the Dodgers in the wild card round. So either you're going to face one of those two teams, and I think both of those teams are far too talented. They got way more firepower on offense, and specifically when you talk about the Padres, their bullpen is lights out. If you give the Padres a lead in the 5th or 6th inning, it's almost a wrap at this point. So, yeah, I'm happy that we have a Chicago representative in the playoffs this year, but they'll shock me if they go far, and that's not just me hating because I got a Sox shirt and a Sox hat on. That's just me being totally unbiased and just looking at it, as a baseball fan. But if they find a way to to re-sign Tucker and to go into next year, with some improvements in that bullpen and maybe another big bat. Now you're talking about a team that can go toe-to-toe, blow for blow with the Dodgers, but I just don't see it this year specifically.
Yeah. So I wanted to piggyback, man, just because I can give enough Cub hatred for the both of us, so I'm good. I got you covered on that part. But just a quick side note, I'm half Irish, so do you know about the Southside Irish kind of? So Southside Irish, there's a song, but my grandfather grew up Southside Irish, and there's a song, and it gets to a part, it's says there's only one club we cheer for. It's the Go White Sox and whoever plays the Cubs. So I was raised with that mentality, and I will say, I mean, it's just not, because I was raised that way. That's what it's for me. It's always been. I agree. They're not our rival. They're not the Sox rival at all. It's an enjoyable game to go to because you have two teams in this city and they're split. It's so for most teams that I don't like, it's always the fans. The fans just blow me. So it's always Cubs fans. And someone said it the best. It was the best answer I ever had. So 2016, when they were having their year, I mean, it was no secret that this was like the Cubs year. And I remember asking someone, I'm like, how do you feel about that? And he was like, well, it kind of sucks because it's been so fun making fun of them not winning for so long. So it takes the fun out of that. But they won. It is what it is. So that's just where I stand with the Cubs. It's just like, man, the fans are very annoying. It kind of, what? That's why I say a lot of the Bears fans, I think they get their attitude because we all got to come together to root for the Bears. So I think a lot of the people that irritate me are mostly Cubs fans that are the Bears fans that I don't like. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But, it's a Chicago team. I'm not going to root for them. I mean, I'm petty, but not going to root for them. But it is a Chicago team in there, so we will touch on that. That's what Room A108 personifies. We are representing for the Chicagoland area. So, my team has no room to talk. They're better than what they did last year, but that ain't saying much. So I'm with CJ. I'm Sox all day, but nothing to brag about. So
yeah, I'll wrap with this because you said something that triggered a thought. When you said that Cubs and Sox fans, got to come together because the Bears. Like when you juxtapose like the Chicago landscape and like take New York. When you look at like the Yankees and the Mets, like they can still keep their rivalry going all year round because you have, when you look at the NFL, you have Jets. The Giants and the Jets. Yep. When you look at the NHL, you have the Rangers and the Islanders. Yep. When you look at the NBA, you got the Knicks and the Nets. So they can keep that rivalry going. The only two teams that we have in Chicago are the Cubs and the Sox. So outside of baseball season, we have to come together to root for the for the Bulls. We have to come together to root for the Bears. We got to come together to root for the Blackhawks. So I think that dynamic for me, and for a lot of fans who look at it the way I look at it, it's just kind of hard to get caught up in, White Sox Cubs, because for a lot of the time it's just not it's not a rivalry.
It's not a
when was the
franchise.
last? I think 2021 was the last year that there was an extended period of time where both of them were good at the same time, and there was actually something for one side or the other to brag about. But when you're talking about a White Sox team that set the record, for losses in the season last year, what are we bumping our gums to Cubs fans about, in a season like that? So it's just,
I want to say something, man. Let me know, because sometimes I can be blindly bitter or blindly biased. So, have you been to Wrigley before?
yeah. Once.
Okay. All right, cool. So, perfect. So, I made a promise I never wanted to go to Wrigley Field, and I'm perfectly cool with that. But my job, when I was working there, they had Skybox tickets. And I said no at first, and then they's like, well, it's free drinks and free food. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll go. So I'm like, all right. And the whole time everybody's telling me, they're like, man, it's Wrigley, man. It's just a whole different environment. It's a whole different atmosphere. Wrigley is it's just magical. And when I got there, it felt like any other sports arena that I've ever been to. And I'm just being dead honest. There was no like special feel. I had more fun afterwards in Wrigleyville, jumping into bars around there, but Wrigley Field was not. It wasn't
giving that stadium a little too much hype, bro.
You said
and
people.
that sound weird coming from you, right?
You said
people.
I
I just spent a little bit of time defending them, but yeah,
right.
You propping that up to be more than it is a fucking dump, bro.
Yeah.
The only good thing, and excuse my language, but the only good thing that when I look back at my visit to Wrigley when they played, and I don't even remember who they played when I went there. The only cool part about going to Wrigley was sitting in your seat and looking outside of Wrigley and being like, damn, it's just a stadium in the middle of a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool. You look out there, you just see houses, apartment buildings, and it's not like your typical stadium, off of Expressway and, major bus routes, train tracks, skyscrapers, all of that. So that part was cool, but everything else outside of that, no, you hyping it up a little bit more than it need to be.
My thing is, people think that just because, so I get it. There's a lot more partying going on in there and drinking, but that doesn't make it a better environment. It's to me, like I said, I mean, it was cool for what it was. I appreciated I always enjoy in Skybox. I mean, free drinks, free food. How could you not? But it was just, I went in there and I was just like, man, am I really that bitter? Am I that much of a hater where it's just like, oh man, so I wanted to ask you, man, because I was just like, man, it didn't do nothing. I got the same experience there that I would at Sox Park, but just more people, because more people go to Wrigley. That's it. It's just the same thing. More people. Actually, I would prefer Sox Park because they got better food.
Oh, of course. Other than your typical meathead Cubs fan who's only going to point out attendance as their only little jab at White Sox fans in the stadium. Come on, man. There's a lot of Cubs fans who I talk to who, without a shadow of a doubt, will say White Sox Stadium, from a fan experience standpoint, it's way better than Wrigley.
Yeah. From
the food and the amenities and the ease of getting in and out, game day activities, yeah, it's not close.
I appreciate it.
And I don't want this at the end to turn into now like I'm piling on them, because
I love it.
Been trying to be unbiased, and I've been trying to give them a little bit of kudos.
You're just being
and
real,
some flowers.
I really wanted to know, man, because I'm like, man, am I that much of a hater? So I'm glad, of course. See, that's the thing. I can't ask a Cubs fan. I need to ask someone that's unbiased, because Cubs fan is just like, oh, well, you wouldn't get it. You're not a Cubs fan.
Nah, man. From whether it's Manny, whether it's my boy Bobby, I got plenty of Cubs fans who, if I asked them, gave them some truth serum and asked them to keep it real, they'll be like, yeah, there's other than nostalgic value for, some, Cubs fans that are, a little bit older, a little bit longer in the tooth, like ain't no middle-aged or younger baseball fans, pounding their chest for Wrigley like that. They've done more outside of Wrigley than they have on the actual stadium.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're saying Wrigley is better because of the intrigue around the stadium, then you're not bragging about the stadium. You're bragging about the neighborhood. So I get it. Like, yes, you can leave Wrigley and you can go to a million different bars that are right there and you can have a great time. I had more fun after the game than I did in the game. I'll just say that.
There's a lot of people who's going to say we gave the Cubs in baseball a little bit too much time today.
It's going to be, oh, man. But, hey.
Mostly Joseph Lehman, man. If anybody don't know, that's my brother, man. He's
Talk to Manny.
He's the bitter one out of the three of us. The four of us, I should say. He's the bitter one who, can't stand the Cubs, man. Can't stand the Cubs, can't stand the Packers. He's probably looking at it like he's going to be watching this, steaming because we talking about the Cubs for so long.
But at least it's a negative connotation at the end right here. So that's
at
good.
The end. Oh, yeah, he might be a little fired up about that, actually.
Why?
Because you said we talking about it. We ended it with a little bit of a negative connotation.
Oh, yeah, so yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Joe going to be fired up about this at the end.
Right here, man. Yeah, we're good, man. But, yeah, man, it's another great episode, another week. Next week, we'll have plenty more to talk about. Hopefully we're back with the same smiles we did from the Bears.
For sure. Shout out Amber in the back. Behind the scenes extraordinaire. My bad.
No, you
Behind
good,
the scenes
man.
Extraordinaire for the one and the only, the great Amber back there. Appreciate her, as always.
She's going to be jumping on camera soon, so.
Whether she likes it or not, right?
So be ready, everybody. But appreciate you all stopping by. Please check out all of our social media. We're all over IG. We're on TikTok now. We're on YouTube where you can get the full episodes. So, we appreciate you all. If you all can just subscribe, like our videos, don't take much, man. Just help support. We appreciate it.
Everywhere you pick up your damn phone and get online and look, we there. Ain't no reason why you can't like, subscribe, share something, leave a comment. Do your due diligence for us, damn it.
All right, we'll see you all next time.
For sure.
A108.